Gentlemen, welcome to the Project Management Institute Chapters Festival. My name is Sylvia and I'll be your host for this festival event. Would also like to extend a very warm welcome and a big thank you to all the project professionals and chain makers present here today. Before we begin, a gentle reminder on a few administrative matters. Please ensure that you have your profile updated and ready to make new connections. Do attend the breakout sessions on time to be eligible for PDUs. Please do visit as many booths as you can. There is also Japanese and Chinese interpretation for some of our sessions. For those sessions, you can click on the headphone icon on the bottom right to pick your preferred language. You may also use the chat box to submit your questions. Happy learning, and please do give us your feedback. We will be giving out PMI merchandises to 10 lucky winners. Follow the following 3 steps and you might just be one of the lucky winners who will be walking home with our amazing PMI merchandises. Follow the PMI Asia Pacific LinkedIn page and you can find us by searching Project Management Institute Asia Pacific. Post something you enjoy about the festival on LinkedIn. Hashtag PMIAPC Festival and PMIAP LinkedIn account in the post. This contest ends on 21st of November 2359 Singapore time. Do be creative and share with your networks all about this festival. Festival main sessions. I would first like to invite our keynote speakers to kickstart the festival. A very warm welcome to Mr. Ben Bream, Managing Director at PMI Asia Pacific, and Vicky Kapoor, PMO Manager at Ericsson Australia. Gentlemen, the stage is all yours.
Well, hello to everybody. Welcome. It is fantastic to see so many people that have joined in today for this first Asia Pacific Festival. My name's Ben Breen. I'm the Managing Director of PMI, looking after the Asia Pacific region, and I'm based in Singapore. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background first about the PMI Asia Pacific team. We have 14 different countries and 21 different chapters in the region. And it spans all the way from New Zealand to Pakistan. It does exclude China and India, as they're pretty large countries, obviously, and they have their own PMI teams that are in charge there as well. Now, in terms of our staff, we have 14 staff, so that's grown quite a lot in the last couple of years. And we have another 8 more that are going to be joining us in the next few months as well. And that's all in line with what we call the PMI 4.0 strategy, which some of you might be familiar with. And that's about having a growth impact, having a significant impact all around the world. And we're calling that a 10x growth. So we need to gear up to make sure we're catering for all those needs. Now, traditionally, PMI has been very North American focused. I think in the last 2 years, though, that's certainly changed. And myself coming on board as the Managing Director for APAC, there are 6 other Managing Directors in regions around the world, and sort of growing into quite a big team, making sure that we have people on the ground in the same time zone, meeting our customers, meeting our members and volunteers. So in terms of the PMI community, it's a community that is very, very strong, and the community has been the heart and soul of PMI for many, many years. And in fact, if we're not giving back to the community, then we're not doing our jobs properly. That's what we need to do in all of the places that we operate. And of course, we can only do that through the amazing volunteers that we have all around the world, people such as yourselves on the calls here, that we know you put your blood, sweat and tears into really improving the project management industry and community. And some of you may know PMI more as a certification body, and there's a bit of a misconception there because we're so much more than that. We offer memberships, we offer career progressions, helping people to map out their careers and know what's important. We have networking and events and white papers and much more. And I think during the pandemic, that has become even more important, where we need to upskill or retrain or do the things that we need to do to keep ahead of the rest. Now, from a personal point of view, I'm relatively new to PMI. I joined just over 2 years ago. Previously, some of my team members had PMP. What was all this about? And I wasn't very familiar with PMI. To my detriment, I really wish that I had got involved a lot earlier. I then, just under 3 years ago, I attended the PMI Singapore Symposium, and I was just blown away at the scale of the event, the quality of the event and the networking that was going on there. And right then and there, I was hooked. And then I was lucky enough to join, as I said, a couple of years ago. And I was also lucky to join during PMI's 50th anniversary. So I attended a lot of wonderful events, culminating in the big event in Philadelphia, which I'm sure some of you attended as well. And just seeing the passion that everybody brought to the event, and wearing all of these ribbons and like a soldier was displaying all of the achievements, and that was just great to see the pride that people take in being part of the community. So I'm certainly proud to be a part of PMI and the PMI community. And I think today is also going to be a really wonderful event. So I hope you thoroughly enjoy yourselves. Now, on that note, I will hand you over to Vic Kapoor, a long-time member of PMI, and I'll get Vic to talk about himself and his journey with PMI.
Thank you, Ben, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. My name is Vic Kapoor. I'm based in Melbourne. So I work as a PMO manager at Ericsson Australia, and I'm also serving as a Melbourne chapter president. Bit of background about me: I graduated from Queensland University of Technology, that's in Brisbane. Done my bachelor in technical field, which is electrical and computer engineering. My first job, I moved in Singapore, and I just took the chance, packed my bag, and I decided to work somewhere else. And I said, why don't you start from Singapore? So my first job with Singtel, worked for a year. Then I got this amazing opportunity with NTT Docomo in Japan, and I was part of R&D program, which was developing 3G. Now we talk about 5G, but I worked in 3G mobile communication development. After that, I moved back to Singapore again, and I worked for National University of Singapore, partially, and then also ST Microelectronics, continuing my development and research in 3G. And then moved back to Brisbane, and started working there, and then also did my master's in telecom. And then I got bored and I wanted some exciting opportunity. So in this amazing opportunity came to work in Japan in 2005. So I joined Ericsson Australia there, and worked in several roles like solution architect, solution manager, and also started my project management career from Japan there. Moved back to Melbourne in 2011 and continued my work as a project manager, moved on to program manager, program director, and now I'm working as a PMO manager. My association with PMI started in 2009. That's where I joined PMI. But in PMI Melbourne chapter in 2011. I joined as a member. I worked in several volunteering opportunities, and including the mentoring program, some outreach initiatives, conferences, and then formally joined the board in 2016. As I mentioned, I had amazing and exciting opportunities with PMI in volunteer world, and I served as a professional development director, a conference director for 2018 conference, and also the vice president role. I was fortunate enough to meet like-minded people and several professionals around there, and founding there's a great initiative called Project Management for Life, which aims to provide project management-based learning to our youth, and also founder of Women in Project Management, which is focusing on diversity and inclusion for the chapter. Yep, so I'm really excited and to be here today and share some of the exciting experience and opportunity that are given by PMI. Over to you, Ben.
Great, thanks, Vic. You've certainly had a very diverse background in many different countries and across different chapters, which I think is great as well. Now, Vic and I are just going to have a bit of a fireside chat here. There's not many fires here in Singapore, but the air conditioning's working well. So, Vic, I wanted to ask you. You have been part of PMI, as you've just mentioned, for a number of years. What are some of your favourite moments, and the moments that stand out the most to you, or maybe just were the most fun?
There are several moments actually. If you ask me to pick a couple of, I'll pick two. My most fun and memorable one. So first, I will start something, the fun moment. So, as I mentioned, I'm Project Management for Life initiative, right? So we've been working on that one for a very long time, since 2014. We're trying to approach many schools there to have us join us partnership where we can provide project management based learning as a pilot. And after several years of searching, and finally we got a school where my son goes to study, which is a Westbourne Grammar School, right? I said, why don't you just start somewhere where people know me, right? So it was good that the principal was from project management background, so it was not that hard for her to just a week, yes, let's do it. And 2019 we did this pilot for entire year. We had about 16 workshops throughout the year, teaching on different topics of project management. The interesting part was that we started with year nine, and my son was in year nine too. And it's just happened. Maybe the universe was giving us something for me to be in the same class. And my son comes to me, and when I told him this, that I will be coming to your class and teaching you, and he said, "Dad, are you serious?" And I said, "Yes, I'm serious." And he was a little bit worried, or I don't know. So I said, "What happened? What's wrong with that?" He said that, it's just different when you teach teenagers and like that. I'll just give you some advice, okay? All right, okay, please, I'm all ears. What advice you have? And he said that, please, when you class, just you don't know me, and please don't, try not to embarrass me. I said, okay, likewise. So that was a special moment for me because through PMI, I could go to my son's school and teach him, not just only him, but all other students there. So that was a really special moment that I still cherish. I still have that article where his photo and my photo, they are printed there. And I cherish that moment because he was there and I was there and visiting. So I would definitely rate that one as a fun moment for me.
Right. I can relate to that, Vic, because my mother taught at my school in
Oh, how
Melbourne.
interesting.
So
Okay.
I was there first day. She came in later, and she was smart enough to change her name.
Okay.
Nobody knew.
And we kept it very candid, but somehow his friend figured out that it's his dad, and because they thought it's only one workshop, and when they realized there's several workshop, then they realized, and then they used to come and approach me, hey, you're Manav's dad, my son name. And yeah, so those were the fun moments. So I'm really thankful that PMI, that I got opportunity, and all the volunteers that helped me. The second moment if I would say my most close to my heart is about 2018 conference, I would say, when I was working as a conference director. Met several volunteers around the world, and I met this exciting person, a fabulous person who is Greg Ward. He was an MC for the conference, and he's a great motivational speaker as well. So what happened at the last second day of the conference, we had a session, the keynote speaker, closing speech, and some reason the speaker couldn't make it, so there was a time slot available. So Greg approached me and said, Vic, you know what? There's this theme. One of the themes of this conference is well-being. So why don't we suggest, why don't you present something related with well-being? So I said, okay, that sounds something we can pick a topic. And so the topic that I chose something was related to my personal story. And that's something story that I had some mental trauma because of me and my son. We were in Bali and we were swimming, and there was a rip that came and took us in. And I thought it is the end, and the whole life revolved around. We managed to survive and came out, but something was bothering me that how come I put not only my life danger, but my son life danger as well. So I was living through trauma. So I said, I couldn't talk to anyone. So I said, why don't I just talk about it since it's a well-being. So when I was narrating the story to him and an experience, he was in tears. I didn't really know why it was so emotional on that part, right? Anyway, we spoke and something triggered it him. And then later on, going to fast forward in 2019, I was in New Zealand and he was a keynote speaker and he was sharing this story, and he brought this topic that when he heard his story, actually on the very next day or the same day, he wrote a suicide note that he was due to stress and work stress. And listening to my story, he's opened his heart and he realized that he's not the only one, and it is okay to talk about it. And he personally thanked me for saying that I saved his life. But actually, it's just we saved each other. I had to say that.
Mm.
And that's something that's a special bonding, I would say, spiritual connection, and that's something could not happen, if it's not part of the PMI. So I'm really thankful to that. We saved each other, and also told the world that it's okay to talk about it. The more you talk,
Yeah.
more. So these are the two moments I would like to share. Yeah.
Wow, that's very powerful. Seeing all the love hearts coming up here, I mean, it's really a powerful story, and it does just show you exactly that the importance of community, the importance of speaking to others about whatever it is that is your concern. Don't trivialize it. It could be a lot worse than you think, and by speaking to others, you realise it's probably not that important, and you put it in perspective, and hopefully move forward. So, thanks for sharing that story. The next one I wanted to talk about was just what advice would you give to someone who is a little bit unsure of the benefits of being involved in an association and a professional association, regardless of sort of what industry or background they're coming from?
So Ben, I think the beauty of the project management career is that it doesn't matter what industry you come from, is shared the same principles, same core values. So my advice will be to, of course, join the community. Right? It helped me because when I moved from Japan to Melbourne, Melbourne was new because, as I mentioned, I grew up in Queensland. So first of all, new city to me, and straight away by joining PMI, it helped me a lot because I could meet the like-minded people. I could join the professional organization and leverage a lot of things from PMI, such as joining the mentoring program, having mentors personally to help, and I could also mentor there. So my advice is basically is join this because it's gonna expand your horizon. You will get to learn a lot of things that you will not be able to learn in your day-to-day work, right? Your leadership skills, someone who has done the experience, been there, and they share their success story, their failures, which you will not be able to, may not be able to see in your day-to-day work life. So that's what I would say is really important for us to be part of the community, because community is not just provides you sense of achievement, meeting the network, but the important thing is a belonging, and that's something happens when you join a community, and then you feel that you're part of it, you helping others, you giving back to community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, and it just shows you the power of that community. Particularly, there's a lot of people in your circumstances that have moved around. They're in different countries or different cities where that certainly helps a lot. I just wanted to touch a little bit more on the professional side of it in terms of how PMI has sort of helped you in your career.
In many aspects. So as if you as I mentioned briefly, I come from a technical background, and I moved to PMI, and I moved several locations as well. So when I joined the PMI Melbourne chapter, and obviously during different part of my career progression, when the major transformation for me was becoming from technical to a project management role, because it's a different skill set, different mindset. And by joining PMI, I could learn by attending conferences, seminars, having a like-minded people, leveraging the networking there, having mentors, someone who could help and learn, develop from there. Being part of certification as well, I mean, that helps to a certain extent. But the leadership, something that you get motivated, and it's not like that you attend a leadership course and say, yep, I'm a leader. It doesn't happen like that. It's just constantly you working and learning and observing through your role models and the mentors that you look highly upon there. So I would say BMI has helped me a lot, giving those connections, and reach out to people. I have several coaches that I still talk to, even from the board. That people, Sajid, why he's a VP. I often talk to him if I need some help. Annie Shihan, I would say also, Yeyun, and yourself as well, man. So I've been, depending on time to time, I always leverage that and those connections there.
Yeah, that's great. I think the mentorship side of it can be really powerful as well. So thanks for that. I do have another question for you, but I'm going to hold that until the end. So I'll let you ask some questions.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I was going to say why I'm the one who's being asked. I wanted to ask you as well. Yes. My question is, you mentioned that you've been part of PMI for the last few years, and obviously you work as a practitioner before. Looking in a retrospective, how would have it helped you if you knew all this information that now is made available to you? Would have made your job easier?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm an engineer and work in the construction industry. And if I had have known what I know now about, what PMI is teaching us, it would have helped significantly. I think that the best example is I worked on the Marina Bay Sands project, and that was, it's a $5 billion development. It's incredibly complex with so many different consultants, contractors, workers, everyone involved. And we were appointed about a year and a half before we were even allowed to go on site. They were still constructing elements of it, and we couldn't start yet. And what that allowed us to do was to really look at it from a risk point of view and do a very detailed risk analysis. And when we did that, and of course, when we got on site, everything was totally different to what the drawings showed. And we had to quickly change the way that we were doing things. But because we looked at all these different scenarios, we had that covered. Now, it was interesting because after the project finished, I spoke at quite a few events about how we managed risk on that project. And I looked back at the presentation that I did, and I noticed that I didn't realize at the time, but a lot of that information was straight out of the PMBOK guide. And we had extracted it from various sources and created a risk management plan. We looked at the risk identification and the qualitative and quantitative analysis and the risk response and the monitoring and all of that. And then I opened the PMBOK and went, wow, it's all here. I wish I had known that earlier. So that was a big thing. The second thing I think is about the stakeholder management and just going through the again on the PMBOK, but other communities, and understanding how to deal with stakeholders better, how to actively listen. And again, when you're running these complex projects, it's one of the most important skills that you can have. So there's many more, Vic, but I think they're the two key ones.
That's interesting. Yeah. Thanks, man. As I think it's good to share some of the information on what are the other benefits from PMI and chapter membership that people may not be aware of. Is there something that you can share?
Yeah, I think it's very common. We have customers that are perhaps not aware of all of the benefits. And a great example of that was in Singapore. We had a customer who has about 600 PMPs. And that's been growing over the years. And that was before we had a strong sort of regional presence that would deal with them as an account, as an account manager. And so they were just buying the certifications online. They would join as a member because it gave them the discounted certification. But then after 1 year, they would stop. So with this new regional model, we were able to sit down with them face to face and understand why they were doing that, and to explain to them the benefits of the membership. And honestly, they were really surprised, and they didn't realise all of the things that they could get, access to the digital tools, to the PMBOK guide, to the surveys, to the events and white papers, and a source of wealth and knowledge. And again, the ability for them to get involved and to speak at events. So this client does speak at chapter events and gets involved in Project of the Year awards and things like that. So I think now, for example, they now take up their memberships every year, and a big part of our job is just to let people know what those benefits are for them, but also we get the benefits of that coming back to us as well in terms of their knowledge and their experience as well. And I think from a chapter perspective as well, it's great. I mean, during the pandemic especially, I saw the real power of the chapters. Many people lost their jobs. You were talking about, mental health, which is obviously another huge thing. And the chapters were there to support and to do whatever they needed to do to help. And I know chapters like the one in Queensland set up sort of job portals where they could link the employers with the employees, and just things like that, which make a really big impact when people are at their lowest point. So that's the sort of thing that I love about PMI, seeing that sort of impact.
And one more question, Ben. I mean, we all love saying that a good thing happens when you join PMI. What good thing happened to you since you joined PMI?
Well, actually, I was joking about this yesterday. We talk about how PMI has helped your career, and it has directly with me because I'm employed in this wonderful role. It's opened up my eyes to a much bigger world out there. I was in construction. I've been in fairly senior roles, but it really did make me aware of so much more that's out there, and particularly the community, particularly the giving back, particularly the tie-ups with the UN sustainability goals. And these are things that I just felt I didn't have time. I didn't have the knowledge of how to get involved. And that's something that's significantly impacted on me. And to be honest, I've got three children that I get involved in a lot of these things as well. So, I hope that that's sort of going down to them as well and giving them the benefits. Okay.
Interesting to hear that. Thanks, Ben.
So I have one final question for you. I'm going to get a little bit philosophical now in the last couple of minutes. I want you to imagine that in a decade or two, you're writing your memoirs. How would you include stories of PMI? What would that sound like? And what are those sort of fond memories looking back?
Oh, you've taken me by surprise by this question, Ben. I mean, definitely, if I see myself, I'll still be part of PMI for sure. In a different capacity, we'll still be part of in some way, either as a volunteer or advisory committee. And looking back in past, I will definitely think PMI as advice to everyone that I regard PMI as a university, because university has wealth of knowledge. It has a lecturer, it has a professor, it has a students, tutors, mentor, coaches, and the library, right? And that is a place for us to go to and feel comfortable about it. And it's all about learning, sharing, and building the community, because as a community, we help each other. So my memoir will definitely be by special moments that PMI has provided to me, and some of the 2 moments that I shared with you. And that's something I think will stay forever with me, close to my heart. So these are the things that I will definitely write in those memoirs, how they have changed the perception, how they have provided a sense of belonging. And the important thing is to giving importance to relationship, right? Because it's often we talk about what is good, right, or bad, but ultimately it's those connections that we make, and we still can think about and laugh about those moments. Yeah. So these are the things I will write. Yeah.
That's excellent. I certainly look forward to reading that book.
And I would definitely ask you the same question, Ben. What would be your memoir?
Yeah, look, it's probably too early for me, being 2 years in, but I do see this as, whether I'm employed by PMI or not, I do see this as an ongoing thing that you can do for the rest of your life. It is PM for life, and it's also, PMI for good and everything that you've spoken about. It's something that I see being a major contributor to my life and hopefully those around me as well. So, yes, that's it. So we're out of time, Vic. I wanted to thank you for your time today, and thank everyone for joining in today to listen to our session.
Thank you, everyone.
Vic for the interactive and in-depth sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the opening session. Next, we will be hosting a break where you can either explore our chapter booths to know our local community better, visit experience booths to try new PMI products, or join a table discussion to meet your next meaningful connection. Don't miss the concurrent sessions after this break, and we will see you in a bit.